Savant just became free-to-play in the Gear Hub, so you're probably wondering whether or not it's worth getting. The short answer is no, but there is a specific case which you could get it. To put things into context, we first have to talk about the cost. So there's 5 energy variants total, the 6, 8, 10, 12, and 16. This goes for most weapons. Most weapons have those 5 energy variants. And almost all weapons have at least 2 variants for credits out of 5. The 2 for Savant are the 6 and the 16, actually. And for some weapons, that would actually not be that bad, especially for a guided weapon that's a bit more passive. The 16 energy variant is probably the one that I prefer. If I was running this on my main account, the 16 is the one that I would use the most, to be honest. But with that said, I have to say, Savant in general is not a fantastic weapon. And if you're going to use it, then you'd want to use it earlier game and not use it late game. The problem with Savant is that, well, first off, it has 6 projectiles that fire very, very, very quickly, and a lot of those projectiles will double up on singular mod shield layers. So you'll waste multiple projectiles taking down a single mod shield layer just because they fire so quickly. But on top of that, you very heavily rely on the weapon's double damage chance. The weapon has a 50% double damage chance, which is huge. It's a lot. But that means that a lot of your damage output does come from said double damage chance. And, as you know, double damage does get completely absorbed by Galvanic Hull. So if you're fighting higher level enemies, even if it's just bots, I mean, like in this footage, you can see there's all the bots have a Galvanic Hull, at least an epic one. And it does make my job significantly harder using Savant. But then on top of that, there's also a lot more stealth enemies. And of course, Savant requires a target lock. And that's kind of a pain. Discounting all of those things, Savant is not a bad weapon, but unfortunately, because all of those things exist in the later stages of the game, that does mean that the 16 is not one that you're going to want to get, even though the 16 is one of the more accessible ones. So that leaves the 6 in terms of credits. And this is one that you actually could get. I think that it would be a very good weapon for Stalker specifically, because your Stalker and your Ares will start off with 12 energy. The one that you'd rather use is Stalker, I think. But Ares could be okay as well. But if you get it super early on like that, I think it would do very well, because there's very few stealthed enemies, there's very few mods. Even if there are some mods, they're going to have very few layers, so it wouldn't take very much to get through those layers with your Savants. But the trouble with it, honestly, is just a matter of like, okay, should I get this or should I get something else in tier 4? Because the 6 energy weapon is going to be in tier 4. But honestly, no, not really. Like, when you're in tier 4, the weapons I have you get are Stormrack 6 and Revoker 6 in terms of legendary. And those are must-haves. You should not skip either one of those. So if you're guaranteed going to get those, that leaves 2 epic weapons, Ember 8 and Helix Rack 8 are the ones that I recommend that you get. And you could get the Stasis Beam 8 from the Derby or Fragment Gun 8, whichever. And sure, you could decide like, yeah, okay, I'll just get Savant 6 instead of one of these epic weapons. But to be honest, like even comparing Savant 6 with Helix Rack 8, Helix Rack 8 might still be better. Just because Savant's firing mechanics are pretty inconvenient, and in terms of just general guided passive weapons, Helix Rack is the better of the 2, I think. Ember Gun 8 is going to be pretty strong as well, but maybe less relevant if you already have Revoker 6, so, maybe you could replace that, but it's just a matter of, like, cost effectiveness. It's not cost effective to get a legendary weapon. You spend way more credits per tier star getting a legendary weapon. So you should get probably as few, especially 6 energy legendary weapons as you can, because as soon as you move into tier 5 and you start getting the epic mechs, the lowest energy that you're going to have with an epic mech is 16. You're not going to be using 12 energy anymore. Even on my free-to-play account, it was less than 3,000 squad power for the longest time, but it was anything with 12 energy was unusable, honestly, on that account. Like, you need at least 16 energy. 12 energy becomes obsolete very quickly, so 6 energy weapons become obsolete very quickly, unless you're pairing it with a 10 energy weapon later down the road, which is why Stormwreck 6 and Revoker 6 are both very good, because you can pair them both with a 10 energy later. But Savant you can't, and so yeah, honestly, I would probably skip them. I would probably skip all of them. Maybe you could get it if you want to. You could put Savant on like a freaking Tengu or a Lancer or something like that if you upgrade it. I don't know, but honestly, like pod gun's better in terms of like passive straight shooting weapons. Pod gun's better. It deals more damage, it has more range, you don't require a lock, and it's easier to use the homing. And then if you want like a passive, like guided weapon, then Helix Rack's better. It has the same range, but then it goes up and over stuff, and it's easier to use the homing. And I think the damage is rather comparable as well. If you were, for whatever reason, dead set on using Savant on something, again, I would recommend using it on Stalker if you're in tier 4, because that's just probably the most ideal place to get the weapon just in general. Tier 5, there's the 8s. I would not recommend spending any 8 coins on any of these weapons. These are not great weapons. Even the credit ones aren't worth it, so like obviously the 8 coin ones aren't going to be worth it. But generally I would recommend mechs that are a little bit passive, and things that are more supportive playstyle, something like that. Orion is a good one. Orion's probably the best one because, I mean, especially late game. You can use the Hunter's Mark to get around a lot of the problems that you have. I mean, you still have the issue with stealthed enemies, but, you know, Orion can't mark stealthed enemies anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Otherwise, like Solus, Outlaw, Salver, those are not the worst. The last thing I will say is that Savant is very implant heavy. There are 3 weapon-specific implants that exist: the damage, the range, and the reload. You pretty much need to use all 3 of them. The reload, the best you can get for reload is epic. I don't think a legendary reload exists, so just keep that in mind. But the range is really important because the base range of Savant is terrible. It's only like 80 meters, which is really, really bad for a guided weapon that shoots all of its ammo in one shot. You don't want to have to get close to people when using that. So yeah, the range is very necessary. The damage, obviously, you want to be able to get kills, so the damage is pretty necessary. And then the reload is highly, highly recommended because you're probably not going to kill most things in one salvo. So it's going to take multiple, and having that reload's just going to help you get those kills faster, which is not necessarily an issue for everything. There are some mechs that really don't require any ability implants whatsoever, but I think it is worth mentioning that if you want to go for Savant, I would very much recommend, you know, just keep it in mind. Don't scrap any of your Savant implants if you plan on getting it later, or maybe you were planning on getting it but you don't have any implants. I would probably skip it at that point, but I'd probably recommend skipping it regardless. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you plan on getting it. Some people are going to watch this after they've already gotten it, probably the 6 specifically, and I'd be very curious to know what you used it on and whether or not you liked it. But anyway, yeah, that is going to be it for me. Appreciate y'all. Take care.